last week on Legally Kidnapped.
Good evening. Our top story this week. Despite much touted efforts to recruit more foster contractors, the Connecticut Department of Children and Families has lost a total of 300 foster homes in the third quarter of last year. In Pennsylvania, a survey reveals that many caseworkers don't meet the national standards when it comes to their educational background. And the state of Nevada can't keep track of its child abuse cases. South Carolina has been fined $82 million over the last 12 years for failure to implement a federally mandated child support enforcement system. And a Blue Ribbon panel presents a performance-based plan for overhauling the Texas foster care system. A federal judge denies a request to end federal oversight of the Connecticut child protective industry. According to an audit, the child protective industry of Los Angeles County wasted over $500,000 on unused cell phones and unauthorized calls made by workers. The Supreme Court of Michigan rules that a loss of parental rights does not end one's child support obligation. And a big tobacco company is found guilty and sued for $71 million for giving free cigarettes to African American children during the 1950s and 60s. According to a new study, the rate of child abuse is twice as high in Israel as it is in the United States. And China has asked Israel for their expertise in combating child abuse in that country. In Ireland this week, children as young as 13 years old who have mental health issues are being put into adult psychiatric units. And 22 children have died while under state care since last March. In Australia this week, an inquiry into the Tasmanian child protective industry finds that almost two-thirds of children in state care don't have a proper plan to manage their health and welfare. And more than a third of child protective workers recruited from abroad to solve the shortage in Gippsland have quit within a year. In England this week, a social worker leaves her job after being found guilty of misconduct for sending inappropriate and offensive emails. And the West Sussex County Council is rated inadequate at keeping kids safe from abuse and neglect. In Canada, an Ontario judge rules that personal emails stored on government computers are not subjected to the Freedom of Information legislation. And Native leaders reject a new child welfare agency in British Columbia. In Florida, a father sues the child protective industry for failing to protect his 15-month-old son before he died. In this week's foster crimes report, a former New York police officer and child abuse investigator is busted with child porn and is then released on his own recognizance. An adoptive parent from Texas is accused of molesting his 4 adopted daughters. And a foster mother from California pleads guilty to manslaughter and the beating death of a 4-year-old foster child in 2006. A father from New Jersey says he is being denied custody of his son because he is Muslim. And based on this case, Muslim leaders are now demanding a probe into the behavior of this caseworker. In Ohio, 2 social workers are placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of an internal investigation regarding their lack of action into the case of an adoptive parent who kept her adoptive children locked in the dark room with little to eat. In Maryland, a foster child is found safe after a worker leaves him alone in a car, which was then stolen by 2 men. And a social worker from Pennsylvania gets fired for failing to report an accident with a county vehicle. In Florida, a real mother accuses the child protective industry of neglecting her infant and stealing her pain meds. 4 siblings gone missing from their New York foster homes. And finally tonight, a judge in Ireland ensures that a mother has daily visits from her 2-year-old daughter during Christmas while she's in jail awaiting deportation. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.